Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to cover how I went about weathering this O-scale water column you see on the left hand side of your screen here. The one on the left, it's about 90% completed. I will talk a little bit more about what's left to do to it later on in the video. But again, the one on the left's been weathered. One on the right is new out of the box, hasn't been touched yet. As you can see, quite a striking contrast between the two. One on the right still has a very glossy appearance, to the paint finish and so forth, whereas the one on the left definitely has a look to it that it's in use on a main line during the steam era. The overall look was achieved with a series of paint mixtures as well as a wash I made up using a color pigment and alcohol. Again, the paint's applied with an airbrush. The alcohol mixture I would dabble on a little bit here and there with a brush and use just the air out of my airbrush to kind of blow it around and manipulate it a bit to go where I wanted it to go. So today's video is going to take you through the process I used to get to that look. Hope you'll like it and everything like that. The water columns you're looking at are from MTH. It's the MTH O-scale water column. It's their item number 30-11007. If you like it, pay them a visit. If I remember to do so, I'll put a link in the description to the product. Overall, pretty good product for where I'm going to be placing it on the layout. It's going to be a bit away from the front of the layout, if you will. So it's going to serve my purpose pretty well. I've got a few more that are going to be going a little bit more closer towards the edge of the layout, if you will, that, in my opinion at least, are a little bit better detailed, and I think will present much better closer up towards the front of the layout. But anyway, without droning on, I'm going to go ahead and get set up to begin the process on the water column on the right, and I'll take you through those steps and show you what I did. Okay, before I begin the actual steps and spraying and so forth, I'd just take a moment to talk about what it is exactly that I'm going to be using today. The paints I used are from Model Master. It's their acrylic paint line. The primary color, the overall color of the water column is going to be this grimy black, which in essence is just a very, very dark gray color. The idea behind it is to emulate what fresh black paint would look like after it's picked up some of that road grime and dust and ash and sooty appearance. The other color I'm going to use is by Model Masters again, obviously. It's their dark earth color. I found that using this dark earth color on my locomotives to weather them, as well as on this water column, as you'll see, really tends to do a bit of a better job of capturing that rusty kind of mineral deposit staining kind of look. I found that if I was to use like a true rust color, like this color right here, it just tends to come out too orange, too bold, way too vivid. No matter what I've tried to do to kind of knock the color down, it just seemed to my eyes at least, to be a little too orange and not really what I was after. But this dark earth brown color really seems to capture it. I'm also going to be making a mixture, as I said earlier, of a pigment. This is a coloring pigment from Vallejo. It's their old rust color. It's a very dark rust color, and I mute it down with a few drops of engine black, again acrylic paint from Model Master, and then I thin it with some rubbing alcohol. Works really well. I'm able to get a very thin mixture that will go on easily, dry rapidly, and with utilizing just air out of my airbrush, I'm able to actually kind of just blow it and manipulate it in the directions I kind of want it to go to. So you'll see that a bit as well. So that said, that's what I've got for paints and pigments and stuff like that. We'll go ahead and get started on the weathering in just a moment. Okay guys, we're back. The first thing we're going to do that I actually failed to talk about in the earlier segment is I'm going to respray this base here. It's like a cream color. I'm going to be respraying it with Model Master's concrete color. It's still a bit of a tan, but it's definitely going to be a bit more muted than this. It's also going to have a flat finish to it. I've already mixed that up in my airbrush here. I'm going to go ahead and just begin spraying that on. And I'm not going to worry about any kind of overspray in the base of this water column, because when we go on to the next step, it's going to kind of take care of all that. So we're just going to go ahead and spray this on. We just want to go for some light coverage. No drips, no air, We're just going to be getting it on there. The main idea here is I just want to knock down the color of this thing. And I want a different base color, if you will, before I begin the weathering of the column itself. As you can see there, we're getting a pretty decent color change. I'm going to go ahead and just spray the top as well. Again, we're not worried too much about the overspray, so don't let that panic you. We're not going for necessarily 100% coverage here. Just enough to take that color down and change the overall hue of it a bit, if you will. Okay, I've got that completed now. I'm going to go ahead and change colors in my airbrush, and when I come back, we're going to go ahead and begin spraying the water column itself with that grimy black color. Alright guys, we're back. I've got my grimy black mixture made up. We're going to go ahead and start spraying. And again, you just want to give everything a good coat. We're not going for total coverage with this first coat, okay? Just a nice light coating to begin with will be fine. You really just want to make sure you're getting all the areas, not missing anything. And again, turn it around as you need. We're just going after, like I said, a light coating this first time around. We're not looking for complete total coverage with the first coat. It's about a series of steps, and we don't want to rush the process at all. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let that initial coat dry, and then we'll come right back and apply the next coat. Alright guys, we're back. We're going to move on to the next coating. Again, continuing on with the grimy black color. Again, you just want to give yourself good overspray on everything here. Don't want to miss any areas. I'm going to go ahead and turn it upside down and get the underside of this column. Okay. Continue around to the front here. Okay. And again, this time I'm going to be a little heavier with it. So I'm really trying to now make sure I'm getting everything into the good nooks and crannies where I've got to get to. Looking pretty good. Okay. Alright. That's pretty good now. I'm going to touch up a few more areas on here, and then we'll move on to the next step in the process. Alright guys, we're back. Our overcoat of grimy black is dried for the most part on here. What I've done now is I've mixed up a mixture of our dark earth brown color. I usually, when I just need a small amount, I'll mix it up right in the cup on the airbrush here. I go for about a 50-50 mix. Works real well for what I'm going to do. This color we're going to utilize to simulate some slight streaking and so forth from like rust, mineral deposits on here. I'm going to go ahead and get in here and airbrush it on. I might have to move this around a bit just for the angle of the airbrush, but I'll try to make sure to position it back so you guys can get a look. First thing I'm going to try to go for is a little bit underneath this pulley right here, kind of running down the pole. So I'm going to need to turn this weight and cable out of the way, get in a little close. Now, I don't know how well you can see that. I'll get a tighter shot of this a little later. But I put just the slightest bit of color right underneath that pulley. I think I'm going to give it just a bit more. Okay. So we got that little bit of staining running down again from below this pulley, just kind of running down a bit. I'm going to go ahead and turn it around. I'm going to do that on this other side as well. Try to move this cable out of the way a bit. Pardon the airbrush in your way. Okay, we've come back in there, done the same thing right in this portion right here. Just a little bit below this pulley, kind of coming down. I'm going to do a little bit more towards the base as well. Kind of just continue that a little bit on the fainter side, not maybe quite as bold, we'll see. There we go. I'm going to do this around on the other side. Again, we're going to continue down from this weight down towards the base. Okay, so we've got a little bit of staining we've added from below the pulley down towards the weight, and then again continuing down the side of the pull towards the base. I'm going to do a little bit more in this area up here, right below my thumb, this little ring, if you will, because when this lever would be depressed by the fireman while on top of the tender, that would open up the valve inside of here and allow the water to begin flowing. So a lot of times you'd see some water kind of leaking out of the top here, as well as splashing back out of the spout. So I'm going to put a little bit of color around the top there and maybe some on the back of this spout here as well. Okay, we've added a little bit there. I'm going to continue turning this around. Very subtle is what I'm after with this color. I got some on the side of the column. Okay, we got some in there on the column as well as up at the top around this ring. It's very subtle. I think I'll add just a little bit more right here. Okay. Excuse me. So now we've added our dark earth color to the top, bit to the column as well. Okay, that clean spot there from where the weight's at is not an issue on this particular one, because this one is going to basically stay in this position with where it's going to be at on the layout. If I was going to have this moving around from time to time, I'd be sure to spray into there as well, but this is going to stay kind of in an upright position, so I'm not worried about that. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of this earth color out here towards the front of the spout as well. Not much, just a hint of it. Okay, same thing around the top, if you will, on this side. Okay, good. Maybe a little bit on here on the top of some of this bracing, just a bit. And on this side as well, this bracing right in this area here. Okay, not too bad. So hopefully the camera is picking some of this up. If I try to get in too close with the camera for whatever reason, the autofocus just decides to not want to play nice and it blurs out. And want you guys to get the best view you can. I'm going to add a little bit more of this dark earth color on top of our base. Just a little bit here and there. Okay. Want a little bit more right in here. Not much, just a hint. And then some on top of our weight. This is our counterweight here for the up and down motion of the spout to kind of alleviate the weight of that. Okay. So I don't know how well you can see it here or not, but this dark earth color I did on the side here, a little bit on the back of the spout, as well as down towards the base. And then again on this side, pretty much kind of the same. Some on the spout, up towards the top here by this lever, by the valve. And then again, a little bit coming down the side from below this pulley, as well as continuing down at the base here, kind of trying to emulate that water staining look. I'm going to go ahead now and get the wash ready that I was going to use. And when we come back, we'll start applying that. Okay guys, we're back. I've prepared the wash I'm going to use, once again utilizing this pigment, color pigment from Vallejo. It's a Old Rust is the name of the color. That's the color for the bulk of it. I'm also add a few drops of this engine black. Again, this is some acrylic from Model Masters, just to kind of knock down the orange color a bit. And then we're going to be thinning it out with some isopropyl alcohol. I've already gone ahead, like I said, and prepared that mixture. Got it in this bowl here. Getting ready to show you guys. Mixed it up in here. As you can see, it's a bit of a muddy, kind of rusty brownish color. Okay. What I've got is just a cheap old artist brush here. And what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to take it in certain areas and I'm going to apply just a bit of it, and you're going to see it kind of go on and spread out and kind of leach outward a bit. And I'm going to utilize my airbrush using just the air and I'm going to kind of use that again to blow it around, direct it in certain directions, and kind of manipulate it that way. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. The biggest thing you need to remember with this mixture here, guys, if you do something like this, is just keep stirring it periodically, because the pigments and stuff, it'll settle out a little bit. Now, if you put this on and it comes out looking a little too bold, you can always come back over it and very lightly hit it again with a little bit of your grimy black color, and that'll kind of mute it down a little bit. But that said, I'm not going to be doing that because, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to take this to about 90% complete. Once I place it, I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to dry brush it with a mixture of like some dark black and dark gray chalks. Kind of just dry brush the whole thing once I get it positioned and the area ballasted and so forth. And what that's going to do is that's going to kind of mute down that orange color a little bit, and it's going to help blend it into the rest of the surrounding ballast and scenery, okay, and give it that kind of uniform appearance. One of the things I think that makes certain things leap out at you in scenery work, and sometimes not in a good way, is an item will be placed there and it just won't fit. It doesn't seem to match the overall coloring or the overall shading of that scene, of that look. Everything, I don't know how else to put it other than to say you should have like a uniform, grimy, dirty kind of look, unless, of course, it's something that's supposed to simulate a brand new structure, maybe a brand new water column, so maybe you'll want to leave yours clean. But things of that sort. So that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got my mixture mixed up here. You want to get a good amount into your brush. You don't want it really dripping, so to speak, but you want a good amount in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to apply this in certain areas. I'm going to start kind of up here towards this area here where we already hit it with some of that earth brown color. I'm going to get it right in here because I kind of want that liquid in there, and I want it to sit there, kind of a pool almost. I'm going to take some air, and I'm just going to kind of blow it a bit. And what that kind of does is it's going to push it, make it look streaky, and again, let me manipulate it around where I want it to go. So I'm going to put some on this portion here. And again, I'm just going to come at it. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of air and play with it. You might need to be close, far away. Okay, but it's going to let us kind of, excuse me, get that little bit of just, a little bit of added coloring we want. Nothing too extensive. I'm just applying some now to this chain or rope, if you will, simulate a little bit of rust on there. Now we're going to come to the base here. I'm just putting it on so that it is in the general area, and again, I'm just going to hit it with some air. Now you see what that did? It blew it down, and it's going to let it kind of pool around the base here, much like you'd see with a real functioning water column. I'm also going to put some up towards the top of this spout, just to get a little bit of color up in here around this. I don't know if it's kind of supposed to be like a bit of a reinforcing gusset, but I'm going to hit it with some air. And you know what? I don't really care if I get a little bit of over spray, if you will. See, now I'm kind of left with a bit of residue around this gusset plate, okay, up there. And it's definitely, like I said, I can see it showing up a bit more orange in person. But again, if it shows up a little orange like that on here now, I'm not too worried about it, because once I blend it in and with my chalks, like I said, that's going to go ahead and mute down this look a bit. So we're going to move this weight. I'm going to do some in here again. Okay, I'm just going to get it down the side. I'm going to hit it with my air. The great thing about having this mixed up with alcohol is it dries rapidly, especially when you hit it with the air. So it lets you kind of put that little bit of color on, blow it around a bit, dry it out, and let that color begin setting. Okay, so I've got that applied here, a little bit of a puddle, downward. Okay. Now, I don't know if it picked it up or not, but it looks like it's splattering kind of down, which is exactly what I want it to look like. Because if this water's dripping down, streaming down, and it's spattering all over, depending on what the watering conditions were, maybe for that part of your railroad, you know, maybe it'd be some really hard water with a lot of mineral deposits and stuff. There we go. Biggest thing with this is don't overdo it. I'm going to put a little in this area here. I kind of blow it down and outward there. Okay? Kind of drew it this way a bit. And again, this all has to be done to your personal taste, your likes. Okay, we're not all going to look at this and go, yeah, it's exactly the look I'm after. I'm going to put some up on this, right here on this turnbuckle. Simulate a little bit of rust in there. I want to add a little bit more, I think, to the base here. Just not quite enough for my taste. I'm going to hit it with some air and splash it around a little bit. Okay. All right. Hopefully the camera's picking up that coloring. I don't know if it is very well, but I'm very, very happy with this. It's come out pretty well. I want to just go ahead and touch these cables on this side again. Maybe put a little bit on our weight there. We'll blow that down. There, and it kind of creates that spattering effect coming downward there. So like I say, that's the bulk of it. That's the bulk of what I got here. I'm going to put a little maybe here. Just blow this down. Okay. Because you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overpower it. But there's our look. I think I'll put a little bit actually on this turnbuckle here on this side. I didn't do that earlier. Maybe I'll put a little bit of rust onto this pulley here as well, because that certainly wouldn't get the most maintenance out in the field, being subjected to the weather and all. And again, just give it a little squirt of air. Kind of helps set it in, if you will. Same thing on this one. And the pulley up here. Okay. All right, and that's about, like I said, 90% of it right there. You know, and again, add the color where you think it's warranted. You know, go after your taste, look at those prototype photos, and, you know, just try to get that look. I'm going to add a little bit here around this hatchway. Maybe goes to a shut-off, main shut-off valve underneath. Again, we're just blowing that around. Okay. So we've got that basically done now. I'm going to go ahead and take the camera off the tripod, take you a little closer. I apologize in advance if this doesn't want to focus too well. I just want to get you the best look possible. Okay. So here we are. Basically a 90% completed scale water column. And again, some of these oranges that are really appearing pretty vivid, maybe like right in this area here on the column and at the base, we're going to knock that down with that chalk and stuff later. Okay, and again, we got some up here on the column, right in this area here. You know, again, trying to simulate just some rust and stuff that's accumulating, being out in the elements. Again, at the back of the column, or back of the this downspout, if you will. And again, streaking coming down the column. Pardon me there, sorry about that. But there is the overall look of our column. And I think from what we started with, you'd agree it's looking pretty good there. So we have that one there. And again, like I started at the beginning of the video, our second one there. So now we've got a pair of nicely weathered O-scale water columns. When I place these, I'm going to go ahead, blend them in with those chalks. There'll be a video following that once I get that part of the layout ready to go to accept these. That said, like I say, have some fun. Take your hand at it. Try to weather some stuff on your own. See what you come up with. You know, you'll surprise yourself. It's a fun hobby. It's a lot of fun to do. This is just how I went about doing it. There's probably an infinite number of other ways to go about doing it. So, you know, head to the workbench and try your hand at it. I think you'll surprise yourselves. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have yourself a great day.